there's a mountain of HEMA stuff that needs to get out of here. Yeah, so if anyone's looking, I know Leanne wanted to look at some of the fencing pants. I got a bunch of gear if people need gear. All right, I think we're good. All right. All right, so it's a little after, it's like 5 after, so I think everyone who's going to be here is going to be here. I apologize to folks. You know, we were going to maybe do an in-person class. The weather was not looking good. It did rain a little bit here, and I don't know, I think in the future we might just go for it instead of trying to obsessively pay attention to the weather report. So we'll try again next week. All right. So let's start. Let's make some space and let's do some warm-ups. All right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Big circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Arm floats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Jumping jacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Deep lunge. 1, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Knees counterclockwise first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Want to make sure to get this stretch and this stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, get those sword simulators. We're gonna do warm-up cuts. All right. Everyone good? All right. All right. Right foot forward into the high Vomtag, or if you're using single-handed, into the high Lugensland. Your choice. Maybe we'll do a little Messer stuff in a little bit today too. Haven't done that in a while. All right, so we're going to do Scheitelhau to the skull. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now to the long point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, to Oliver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's do right Oberhau, or as some folks have seen with the new sheet, or the Mind Infectin sheet that I've kind of put out on the Discord, we're starting to number the cuts a little bit. It's going to be easier for newer students to kind of talk about some of this stuff, and it's also good shorthand, and it fits into some of the more modern fencing, so it commonizes. So this kind of came out of a conversation with some folks that did some of the Italian things and some of the other French longsword and stuff. So we've been kind of numbering cuts, so that way we all know what we're talking about the same thing. So the Scheitelhau is actually cut 7. I know we practiced that one first, but that's a long story. So this vertical Oberhau we've labeled as cut 7. So next, what we're going to do, cut number 1, which is right Oberhau. So again, in the high Vomtag or high Lugensland, we're going to cut right Oberhau, cut number 1. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so let's switch our feet. We'll do cut number 2, right? So cut number 2 is left Oberhau. So into the high Vomtag or Heuchlugensland. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so from this same position, we're from the high Vomtag, we're going to cut 2, which is left Oberhau, and then we're going to transition to Nebenhut, and then we're going to cut 3, which is right Unterhau. Okay, so cut 2, cut 3. Und 1, und 2, und 3, und 4 und 5 und 6 und 7 und 8 und 9 und 10 und. All right, switch your feet. So now, with right foot forward, we're going to strike right over Hal. Transition into Nebenhut. We're going to cut 4. Cut 4 is left unter Hal. So we're going to cut 1 and then cut 4. All right, so into the high Lugenslan. Und 1 und 2 und 3 und 4 und 5 und 6 und 7 und 8 und 9 und 10 und. Sehr gut. Okay. Let's do Mittelhau. And Mittelhau, we're going to start by cutting 6, which is left to right, and 5, which is right to left. All right. So into the middle hut, I'm going to cut Mittelhau from left to right, which is cut number 6. Und 1 und 2 und 3 und 4 und 5 und. Okay, switch sides. So now we're going to cut 5 first and return with 6. 1 und 2 und 3 und 4 und 5 und. Okay, sehr gut. Now we will let's go into the right ox or the right Stier from Messerfolk. And we are going to put our left foot forward, step, strike Oberhau if you have the space. If not, begin with that right foot first and just strike Oberhau. Okay. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sehr gut. Okay. Now from on that same right side, we're going to begin in the Neben or Mittelhut, which is either here or here, depending on how you feel comfortable, or most likely you can cut. We're going to begin with that left foot forward. We're going to step and strike Oberhau. If you don't have the space, keep that right leg forward and cut as such, okay? So, beginning on the right side, in the Mittelhut. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sehr gut. All right, let's switch sides now. So put that right foot forward, get into left ox, and we're going to, if you got the space, overhow with step. If not, keep that left foot forward and do the overhow in place. 1, 1, reset. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now, into the Neben or Mittelhut on the left side, right foot forward. If you got the space, you know the drill. We're going to Oberhau with step. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So good. Okay, now we're gonna start, let's dive into some of the newer ones that we were practicing the other day. So we're going to go into the Vomtag, the Hoik Vomtag, and we are going to practice stepping with our, sorry, I played brain fart there for a second. Wow, that was fun. We're going to step to our left and then cut down into the 8th position, the 8th guard, right? The Flügelhau, right? So it's a back edge cut. Actually, I have a sword handy so I can actually show you the edges. It is going to be a back edge cut. Get my messer so I don't scratch my ceiling. So yeah, it's going to be a back edge cut that puts you into for people who are used to classical fencing or took a peek at that little cheat sheet. This is the 8th ward, right? So we're going to begin in the Lugensland, and we're going to Flügel into the Verhangen. Okay. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, und 10. All right. Shake it out, shake it out. My arms get tired with all the overcuts. All right, so now what we'll do is we're going to put our left foot forward, put our sword into the Vomtag Lugensland. We're going to cut into the 1st ward. And let me see if I can kind of focus it in a way that looks good on the camera. So if I'm in Lugensland, I am cutting. So I'm using the long edge. Think of it as a tiny, right? It's as if you've done, instead of doing a Zwerchhau, you're completely dipping the tip down, okay? Okay, so into Hoik Vam Tag, Hoik Lugensland. We're left foot forward, and we're going to step forward with our right foot, and cut. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Sehr good. I have a tinfoil hat theory about that. And maybe when in a little bit, I'll actually put on a tinfoil hat and tell you about it. All right, let's practice some thrusts before we go into crazy, crazy land. All right, we're going to begin in the right flug or right aba. We're going to thrust into the left ox. Okay. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Sehr gut. Now what we'll do is we're going to go from the right flug into the right ox. Okay? Should probably be a step like this would be the easiest thing to do. So passing or gathering step, either one, your choice, because both are technically fine. All right, so from right flug to right ox. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Sehr gut. Okay, into the left flug, left aba, and we're going to then go into the right stier or ox. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Okay, now from, oh, it's pouring out. Oh, good thing we didn't have class outside. All right, so from the left aba or flug, we are going to go to the left side stier or ox. Okay. Und eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10. Okay, into the long point. Pa. I'm going to in and out. Okay? Eins, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, 8, 9, 10. All right. All right. So that's our quick warm-ups. What we might do, everyone grab some water real quick. It is hot, easy to get dehydrated today. And I think the thing we'll do next is we will go over all the cuts in order of their numbers, and we might even practice doing some of the Meister cuts because they are kind of going to fit into my tinfoil hat rant. So water up real quick. Let me see while you're grabbing some water if I can get this chart to come up on my computer. All right. All right. So real quick, so folks can see it. This is the chart. Can everyone see that okay? They never like show me what is actually happening, which is always very frustrating. Cool. So as you can see, we have 8 cuts. You know, we have the right overhow, and they're pretty straightforward. Straightforward. We've all done these before, and essentially they're lines of attack. So I always try to keep that in mind too. So let us stop share. There we go. Okay. So let us go over. So I mean, just do them in order real quick so we can start putting them in the brain. If I might grab the lightsaber again, just because it is so much easier to see. So please don't judge me. But yes, I am a nerd. Let's see, where is that thing? All right. So, oh God. All right. So cut 1. All right. So, so the way I'd like to do this is like before we had talked about kind of the resting, the kind of the ready position. So what we're going to do now is some drills to help us memorize all these numbers and when we do them in order. So be it lightsaber or sword simulator, basically, again, I'm against people putting, unlike classical fencing or historic fencing, I'm not so big about putting the sword tip on the foot. I think that's still a really bad idea. But one of the ways I like to kind of do the salute in or have people ready, keeping the sword on the left shoulder, which is the canonical way, actually, looking through some old military, like essentially the equivalent of period military manuals. Sword always, regardless of your handedness, started on the left shoulder. Salute, and then enter here. All right. So we'll pick it up from here because we don't need to go through all of it. Right. So here, as we've talked about, we go from this resting position to scabbards to long point. All right, let's do that one more time. So feet together from here to here. And then from here, we're going to raise our sword into the Vamtag, come out to right to that kind of Einhorn position, simply cut 1, bring it around the neighborhood, and bring it back to long point. Right? Do it again. Cut 1. Cut 1. Cut 1. Right? Now, there's a lot to be said for, I know a lot of people don't like the idea of, say, adding this extra kind of behind. This is part, there are going to be like 2 different iterations of this drill. This is the first iteration, and this is kind of how a lot of my material is going to be done. Is that, so this one is the first level, right? We're still doing it big. So it's like we begin, as we talked about, here, 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 make it big, And this kind of this sweeping around motion is about just getting people to the reason, long story short, the reason you get to do this is because you get to practice through all the motions, right? So, mm, 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 mm. You notice that this looks really similar to one of the cuts that we do during warm-ups, right? So that's cut 1. Now let's do cut 2. So switch your feet to the high vom tuck, 2, neben, around. Cut 2. Cut 2. Cut 3. Drop to neben, 3. Vom tuck. 1 point. Cut 3. Sorry, cut 3. Cut 3. Huh. Cut 3. Cut 3. Cut 3. All right, good. Now what we're going to do is switch our feet. I bet you can guess what comes next. Cut 4. Nebenhut. Oh, fireworks are starting. Hooray. Cut 4. Vom tuck. Long point. Neben. 4. Four. Cut 4. Cut 4. Cut 4. All right. I think everyone's got it. So let's review the first 4 that we've done so far. All right. So let's begin. Swords on our left shoulders. Okay. Salute either your partner, or in this case, the teacher. Out to the first position, or resting position. Long point. Vom tuck. Cut 1. Switch your feet. Cut 2. Cut 3. Switch your feet. Cut 4. Good. All right, now we're going to play the little game where I look at all the little boxes on the screen here. So if you feel comfortable, please turn on your camera. If not, that's okay. There is no requirements. And what I'd like everyone to do is I'm going to call out a cut and then watch everyone do some cuts. Okay? So everyone sword on left shoulder, please. Or sword object on your left shoulder. To the ready position. And cut into the vom tuck. Good. And cut 1. Cut 2. Cut 3. Cut 4. Good. All right, cut 2. We're gonna play that game. Cut 1. Cut 4. Cut 1. Cut 3. Perfect. All right, that looks great, everybody. Let's do the next one. So let's do cut 5. All right, so we'll start here again. And so cut 5 is Mittelhau. And so depending on, in this case, we'll just say that my right foot is starting forward, but it doesn't really matter because the best way to do this is actually from this long point is to step into the kind of Mittelhut, so that way both, or the horse stance for people that are familiar with this, so that way your feet are next to each other, and simply cut 5, making sure you're reaching out, and then step backwards with the right foot in, and then back into long point. All right, let's do that again. So step 4, in this case, we're just going to say my right foot is forward. I'm going step forward, so I'm in the horse stance. Reach out, cut 5, step back, step back. All right, let's do that again. So into the Mittelhut, cut 5, step back, and back. Good. Let's do it again. So step into the middle, cut 5, back, and back. Yes, good, good. Now, as you can imagine, cut 6 is the same thing, but from the other direction. In this case, my right foot will start forward, and I'm going to, again, step into the Mittelhut. I'm going to go into this position here, so my sword is on the left, and I'm going to cut Mittelhau, and I am once again going to step back and back. All right. So cut 6, so we're going to Mittelhut, cut 6, back, back. Good. All right. Mittelhut, cut 6, back, back. One more time. Into the Mittelhut, cut 6, back, back. Good, good, good. All right. So let's review all of them so far. All right. Sword on shoulder. Into the ready position. To the long point. And cut 1. Cut 2. Cut 3. Cut 4. I'm going to cut 5. And cut 6. Good. All right. Everyone feeling okay? We're doing okay? Let's do real quick. We're going to do cut 7 and 8. So 7, as we is the kind of the vertical Oberhau. Vertical Oberhau. Ridiculous, but it works. Vertical Oberhau, and 8 is kind of the reaping cut, which is a short edge cut from Alber straight up. It is actually noted in a lot of later fencing books. It's described in early KDF, Fiore definitely, and it's also talked a little bit about in like later effect books, or like ones especially in the kind of like later centuries when it was actually trying to do fencing. Don't do this because it's a dick move to do in fencing. I say, if it's there, we're going to use it. All right. So let's begin in long point, and we'll cut 7. So from here, Vomtog, cut 7, back, up, cut 7, back, oh, back, Vomtog, cut 7, long point. All right, so now let's do cut 8, lower to Alber, and simply cut to Einhorn, and back to long point. Lower your tip to Alber, out, and back. One of the things about cut number 8 is that we just don't want to make sure we're not doing the T-Rex. This is one of the mistakes I had made when I initially was trying to do this. And you don't want to do this. You don't really want to do this. You want to make sure that we want to make sure that when we're doing this cut, it is still out, and you are reaching, and it's this whipping into Vomtog motion. All right, so let's do those 2 in order. So into the long point, please. Raise to Vomtog. Cut Oberhau. Now that same arc that you got, let's go back to long point. Drop to Alber. You want that same arc in this ascending cut. And cut 8. Good. And you'll know you'll have done it correctly if your arms automatically kind of start dipping you back at the end of the cut, kind of dip back into the Vomtog, right? Cool. All right. So those are our 8 primary cuts, and that's oh yeah. And then after we're done, we can go from here, step back, here, right? So those are our 8 primary numbered cuts. And we still have probably about 10 or so, 10 to 15 minutes left in class. So what I can do, so I know that's a lot of new stuff to kind of go through, and I don't want to throw too much at folks today. But definitely review that sheet, that PDF I sent out, and that will have the cut charts on it, and it also has the ward, the wards and the numbering of the wards. We'll discuss that stuff next week. But for now, I say, because we haven't done them in a while, maybe we should do some of the 5 Meisterhauen, like practice some of the 5 Meisterhauens, because I know I haven't cut that in a whole lot of time. Oh no, rain! Yep, rain struck Brooklyn. Yeah, it's been raining off and on since about 20 after 7 here, quarter of 7, etc. And this will kind of get me into some of my tinfoil hat theories that if I have.
Hey, Peter?
Yes.
Can I mention that trick that I told you about the numbers?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Dina takes notice that this was very much, these numbers correspond with the saber stuff that she was studying. So go ahead.
So the uneven numbers are from your right, and then the even numbers are from your left, except 7 and 8. That's just 7 and 8. But 1, 3, and 5 are right. 2, 4, and 6 are left.
2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5. Yeah. And then, 7, 8. Thank you, Dina. Sadly, the wards don't line up to those same numbers. So for the parries, right, or the wards, I'm trying to, again, really separate the wards, or the Versetzen, the displacements, from the lega, or the postures, because the legas are kind of like, if you notice, whenever we cut, they're the kind of positions that we begin from, or go through, or pass through, or end in, right? Where they really actually help you get into the cutting the kind of cutting, work on the cutting mechanics. But the Versetzen are a different active thing. They're the parry, the ward, the displacement. And so again, folks with a classical fencing background, this will look pretty similar to. But so the numbering on the sheet is, it's actually gonna be hard with this in one hand, but 1, right? The first, erste versetzen, right? It's guarding your left side with your hands high and kind of in a verhangen. And so that's 1. 2 is Alber, but held to the right. So that's kind of defending that lower area. And then 3 is Flug is like an active Flug on that right side. So the Flug and the Alber, so 2 and 3 protect your right side, while 1 defends against the left with your arms crossed. Now, the reason that this is called 1 is because it would be, actually, don't have my scabbard handy, but if you were to draw your weapon out of scabbard, this is essentially the position you'd end up in, right? So rapier folk know this is prima, or I think classical fencing or historic fencing is prima, but erste, first, first guard, first, second, third. Now what's interesting also about the third is you can still hold it high, really high. It's just that tip up kind of action, and that can be very, very defensive. It's the best the parry, kind of like we talk about whenever we do the warding drill. It's the best parry against anything on this side. Right? So that's 3. And then 4, sorry, we've gotten into it. The train's left the station. We do this now. So 4 is here. So it's Flug on the left. 5 and 6 don't actually translate in. I was asked not to use those numbers because it would be confusing for folks who do other kinds of fencing. So we do 7, which is Alber on the left. So 4, 7, 4, 7, and then we have 8 here, which is a Verhangen that defends the right side, right? So those are our kind of those are the numbers for the parries, or the Versetzen. They clearly all have German names as we know and love them, but there's like the numbers are just a shortcut to getting us to those spaces. And then there's also 9, or the roof guard, which or kind of is also can be done either side. So that's for more vertical parries where you want to do like a woven thrust kind of thing. Let's see. And then, okay, so that's, all right, so that actually all is a really good setup because that means I can talk about some of the Meister Hughes stuff. So I actually want to do Zwerkau together real quick because I want everyone to kind of focus on, nope, hold on. Tristan says hello, everybody. He just sent me a text message. And so what I'd like to do is do a little Zwerkau. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the Vontag. Is it hailing again? I hope so. And we're going to put our left foot forward. And then we are going to step out with our right. Ooh, I'm clean my floors today, so they're a little slippery. Step out with our right foot and then cut. Yep. So, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. What we're going to do now is same thing with our left foot starts forward and we're going to step out with our right foot. But instead of going this way, we're going to cut to the left. All right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, now start with our right foot forward into the Lugenshand. We're going to step out with our left foot and strike to the left. All right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Now, everyone into the Spreckfenster. Left foot forward. We're going to go from Spreckfenster, and we're going to cut the Zwerchau the best we can. Now, you're going to notice it's not going to go all the way around because your body won't let you do that, but you're going to get an interesting result. All right? So into the Spreckfenster, or the long point, and then we are going to cut Zwerchau. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's do it the other way. Put your right foot forward in the Spreckfenster, and we're going to cut with the left step, and then we're going to cut left Zwerchau. Und 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sehr gut. Okay. So what's really interesting is, the text says that Spreckfenster is the guard that we should always use as the best guard, and that we should do all the hues from Spreckfenster. So what I find really interesting about something like Zwerchau is how you end up in Ox on both sides, which is actually, it's that's pretty evident just from the actions they're getting you to take. You're moving from Spreckfenster to these guards, right? The other thing that I find interesting about it is, what does this look like? This looks like the parry, the Verhangen, right? Which is one of the ways that you parry an incoming Oberhau, or you do, or it's best used for kind of a riposte against a parry against a riposte. And what I find really interesting is that the best way to make the Verhangen work is that it relies on pressure on your sword. And this is something I talk about all the time with the hanging parry drills. You have to get the sword out in a way that either, doesn't matter if they're hitting the flat or the edge, but you want the sword out and kind of over your head and out, but not this, right? We don't want to parry like this because it'll just go right in our face. We want it out, not all we don't want it completely horizontal, but we want it just enough that it comes down, and that way, with that pressure, we can come around and strike again. So one of my tinfoil hat theories, I'll even is that we have, I even have a little tinfoil hat here that I can put on. It's a little rabbit tinfoil hat for when we have the longer discussion, is that one of the ways that we, Zwerchau is also not just meant to be an offensive, just another hue, and we talk about the Meister hues being like both protective and protective and defensive and offensive at the same time. But I also think it can be used as like this protection against the riposte, because the Zwerchhau in many ways is setting you up for that Verhangen. Again, it's just again, red string and tinfoil hats, but it's just something interesting I've noticed while I've been kind of playing around with all this stuff. Because if you look at like the Flügelhau, the Zwerchhau doesn't appear in a lot of the Gemeinfechten texts, but the Flügelhau does. And I'm wondering if, and again, this is wild speculation just based on observation, like my own personal observation and like limited pool of knowledge, that I'm wondering how much of the Gemeinfechten, the foundational fencing gloss materials had names changed for when they went into like the Lichtenauer tradition, either because there was no early, maybe there wasn't as much connection or overlap, or because they didn't want that common association. They were trying to hide it in other language. And we see this in many ways, both in sword and buckler things and Messer things. Everyone knows, like anyone who's taken the Messer class knows that like, this is called Aber instead of Flug. This is Stier instead of Ox. Certain people were kind of creating their own vocabulary for things. So just an observation, something to think about. What we'll do next week. So what I'd like everyone to do for the next half hour or so, while I clean up and get the movie night set up, what I'd like everyone to do is practice the 8 cuts. And in that way that we talked about in full form, right? A lot of people have been asking for kata, so there you go. There's some, like, from that left shoulder position, do the whole thing. Take the time to force yourself to go through all the motions, right? Practice all 8 cuts. If you want to get real head start on next week, take a look at that PDF I sent out and practice those words. Are there any questions before we go? We good? All right, cool. Next week we're gonna try to do a simul, like I'm hoping to do a in-person class in the park. Weather was just not with us this week. So we're gonna keep an eye on both the weather and the health, the CDC numbers for New York City, to make sure everything's going okay. Hopefully we'll be doing something here in Harlem Park, and we will stream it on the Zoom so everyone can join if you can't actually be in Harlem. I have Zoom on my phone now, so we can stream it right from the park. So I'll have more information about that later, but otherwise,
park tomorrow if anybody wants.
Oh yeah. So check the Discord for information about fencing in the park, Central Park tomorrow. And trying to think if there are any other announcements. No, I think that's it. Again, if I appreciate everyone joining me here. Check out my ko-fi.com/Peter J. Haas to leave a tip if you can. And I'm hoping to have more updates just for about all the sword stuff soon. All right. Thank you everyone for joining me. And all right, have a good.
Sorry about that.
No.
Your fancy goodbye.
Oh. Right.
Class in Harlem. Do it where we stop by the school to pick up gear.
Oh, thank you for thank you for mentioning that. I can set. I will set a day and time, a couple of 2 days and some after work hours next week for people to stop by. Friday, if we do class on Friday outdoors, I will definitely make sure there is time beforehand to go to the school to get gear.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you. Good night.